People of Reddit, what is A? There's no way that's true, fact that you know. Ancient Egypt lasted so long that ancient Egyptian archaeology was a career in ancient Egypt. This is like that fact that we live closer to T-Rex than the T-Rex was to Stegosaurus. Greenland sharks can live up to 500 years. They don't reach sexual maturity until they are over 100 years old. When they get pregnant, gestation lasts up to 18 years. Koalas' entire diet is eucalyptus tree leaves, which are incredibly toxic. Baby koalas aren't born with any immunity to the toxins. They gain this by eating their mother's poo. The last execution by guillotine in France occurred the same year Star Wars was released. Sharks existed before trees did, and before the rings of Saturn. If you earned $5,000 an hour, 24 hours a day from the time the pyramids in Egypt were constructed until today, the world's richest man would still have more money than you. Hannibal Lecter only has 16 minutes of screen time in Silence of the Lambs. Freddy Krueger has 7 in the original Nightmare on Elm Street LOL. Darth Vader has 34 minutes in the original trilogy. A million seconds is 12 days, a billion seconds is 31 years. That's the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. In 1830, the average 13-year-old male in the US drank the equivalent of 5 beers per day. Helps with the pains of factory labor and chimney sweepery. Every time I'm told something about the duck-billed platypus, every fact has me convinced it shouldn't be a real animal. I always think about the fact that it's a mammal that produces milk as well as lays eggs, which means it could make its own creme brulee. You can fit all the planets in our solar system between Earth and the Moon. Some worms were frozen solid for over 40,000 years in Siberian permafrost, then some scientists revived them. So they were actually not dead, just resting. Losing weight? When your body burns fat for calories, that mass is turned mostly into carbon dioxide. On a calorie deficit, the excess weight leaves your body through breathing. You are getting slimmer by exhaling. Woolly mammoths did not go extinct until 1,000 years after the Great Pyramids of Giza were built. Orcas are a natural predator of moose. Rats can laugh, we just can't hear it because it's not in our audible range. That paracetamol treats heartbreak pain, emotional pain, as it does physical pain. It also reduces empathy. In 1972, French scientists wanted to know how ants responded to radiation, and if any mutations would occur. They placed small pieces of cesium-137 around an anthill, only to discover half a year later that the ants had relocated the cesium to the inside of their nest and used it for central heating. No mutations or behavioral effects were observed in the ants after 11 months, though flora in the area did die or lost its foliage. If you eat a polar bear liver, you will die. Humans can't handle that much vitamin A. Turtles can breathe through their butts. So can I. Exhale mostly. A blue whale's tongue can weigh as much as an adult elephant. Honey does not spoil. You could feasibly eat 3,000-year-old honey. There are more possible iterations of a game of chess than there are atoms in the known universe. The planet Mercury's day is longer than its year. Well, depending on what you mean by day. If you mean one full rotation of the planet, sidereal day, then a Mercurian day is only 2/3 of a year. If, however, we are talking about how long it takes to go from noon to noon, solar day, then a day is 2 years on Mercury. You are always looking at your nose, your brain just chooses to ignore it. Michael Jackson would like to differ. All my facts are animal-based, because I research a lot of animals. Sharks were thought to be immune to all disease until around 18 years ago. Now they're believed to be immune to all disease except one form of rare cancer. Mouse sperm is longer than elephant sperm. Goldfish are the only animals that can see both UV and infrared. Except the mantis shrimp. Whoops! If placed in darkness or running water, goldfish lose their color. Mosquitoes are 3 times more attracted to blue light than any other color. I have more, hundreds more, but my friends pretend to fall asleep when I talk about them, so I'll leave you with just these. Only 1 out of 10 people can clasp their hands behind their back by reaching one hand over the shoulder and one up from below. Actually, that's not true. It's just a dumb trick I learned in high school to get girls to stick their boobs way out. Fact or no fact, you win. The Australian Prime Minister pooped himself at McDonald's. At one point the human population was between 1,000 and 10,000. We came so close to going extinct. We're all cousins. There are only about 25 blimps in the world. Just how capable ancient humans were. At least 50,000 years ago humans crossed about 60 miles of open ocean and colonized Australia. The timeline for colonizing America has been consistently pushed back. For tens of thousands of years modern humans coexisted with other ancient hominids, essentially but not quite the same as us, but close enough to breed and produce viable, non-sterile offspring. I find it absolutely mind-blowing to think about. Only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water, and less than 1/3 of that isn't frozen. Vacuum decay, essentially, at any given moment without warning, the universe could cease to exist and never exist again. Pablo Picasso died 5 years after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. That between 14 to 140 million new stars ignite into existence somewhere in our universe every minute. A female turkey can lay an egg that doesn't need to be fertilized by a male turkey, and the baby that hatches will always be a male. NASA funded a research project that involved giving LSD to dolphins in an attempt to communicate with them in the 1960s. And oh boy does that story get weirder, because it ends up with a woman jerking off one of the dolphins. Unsure how this was supposed to help teach the dolphin English, but I guess that's why I'm not a NASA-funded scientist. Humans have been performing dentistry since 700 BC. 1.5 billion years ago, animals and fungi separated from plants, and fungi then separated from animals an estimated 10 million years later. Today, humans share roughly 50% of our DNA with your average fungus. What I'm saying is that, genetically speaking, mushrooms are more closely related to humans than they are to plants. Nectar can ferment in hot weather, and bees that consume this can effectively get drunk. Drunk bees aren't allowed back in the hive. One of the oldest tablets from Mesopotamia is a customer complaint. There is even a whole collection that was discovered. So some dude did a terrible job trading copper and kept all the complaints he got about it in a room specifically built to house the complaints. Ants take 250 power naps a day. A human body can produce enough carbon upon cremation to make 200 pencils. You can be your own souvenir at your funeral. Cows moo with regional accents. Lots of animals have regional accents. If you smell fish and no one's cooking, it's an electrical fire. Any drink under 10% ABV was considered a soft drink until 2011 in Russia. Oxford University was founded before the Aztec Empire. Saddam Hussein wrote an erotic novel. Zabiba and the King. All clownfish are born male. The dominant clown changes to female. When the female dies, the next dominant male steps up into motherhood. Yes, Nemo's dad is now his new mother. Hair lice came from chimps, pubic lice came from gorillas. I can only wonder how that happened. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, chances are that you have put them in an order that has never been seen in the history of the universe. That an ancient king called Mithridates was so scared of being assassinated, he drank small amounts of poison every day until he built up an immunity to every poison known to man. When the Romans invaded his kingdom and defeated him, he attempted to poison himself to avoid capture and execution, but because he was so used to the poison, it obviously didn't work. Eventually a servant killed him with his sword. Cleopatra lived closer to the time when the iPhone was invented than she did to the construction of the Great Pyramid. Just got my mind blown today. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out, and leave a comment down below. Do you have a crazy fact you would like to share?